All right, this is our standing pike good morning. So we're going to be using this exercise to begin developing our pike flexibility, really maximizing how much we can stretch our hamstrings. In order to get the most profound stretch on our hamstrings, we need to do two things. One is lock the knees, two is come into an anterior pelvic tilt. So for the first point, locking the knees, we want to perform this exercise as much as we can with locked knees, but it's okay to start with a bit of a micro bend and progress towards the locked knee position. Secondly, we're looking for an anterior tilt of the hips when we're performing the movement. So opposite of the hips being tucked under, what we call a posterior pelvic tilt, we're looking for an anterior pelvic tilt. You can almost think of twerking the hips. Now, from here, we're gonna begin to shift the hips horizontally backwards and bring the torso down. Those two movements happen simultaneously. So one more time, anterior pelvic tilt, the hips move horizontally backward, the torso comes down. Now, as we shift the hips horizontally backwards, we begin to bring some weight onto the heels of our feet. If you have too much weight on the balls of your feet or on your toes, it can feel like you're gonna fall forward. So the hips drive horizontally backwards. We shift the weight towards the heel of our feet. And then once our hips can no longer move horizontally backwards, for me, that's at this point here, the movement, we've reached our end range of motion. So this is where we're gonna pause for a brief second and come back up. Actually, we'd pause for 2 or 3 seconds to maximize that stretch sensation on the backside of our legs. So the hips move horizontally backwards. Weight is on the heel of our feet. Our spine is neutral, and we're paused here. Now, while we're paused here for those 2, 3, 4 seconds, we want to think of further anteriorly tilting our hips. If you just think of this action, think of the hips being pulled up towards the ceiling, or your sacrum being pulled up to the sky. That increases the stretch. You'll notice it almost immediately. That's the first intention. The second intention is we want to actually squeeze our quads and hip flexors to pull us deeper into the stretch. Now, when you first start trying to do this, you may not notice that you actually pull into a deeper stretch. You may not understand what it means to engage the hip flexors. But if you just keep on with that internal sensation of squeezing this area here, contracting your quads and your hip flexors, you will start to notice over time that actually helps you pull into a deeper stretch. So that covers the standing pike good morning for most of it. So we don't need any equipment. It can be performed without any weight, but I do have some weight here. It can provide some external resistance to pull you deeper into the stretch. If we do use some load though, we don't want to use too much weight. So the idea is here that we can access our deepest hamstring flexibility with the least amount of weight possible. 5 to 10 kgs is more than enough. So here I've got 7.5 kg. What we would do is put it behind our back. You'll notice that you don't have to stand with the feet together. You can, and at some point, maybe worthwhile developing this movement that way, but a small distance between the feet is totally okay. Then from here with the weight on our back, the hips go horizontally backward one more time. The torso comes down. I squeeze my quads at the bottom and I imagine pulling my hips up towards the sky. And we come back up. One more time. Shift the weight to the heel of the feet. Get the hips, the sacrum pointing up towards the sky. And we come back up. And that's the standing pike good morning.